To fix this out of the box. And the first thing is to teach the system what is my voice like.
Yeah, and what voice variation you want to use to drive the system.
I spend some time doing this, and I will also tell the system that now I'm going to do a posture.
Yeah, okay. You can train the system on the fly. I mean, actually, you can record. Let's say you can do the training on the fly, but for first-time users, it's kind of like tough, because if you make a mistake, it's bad. So usually, with the user study that I did, I asked the people to provide me some voice sample, but I was recording. And then I used audio files to do the training. So at least I cut out the part that was not good to do the training. I kind of like isolated the postures, I isolated the gesture, and I pass it to the script, and the script does the job. You can do the training on the fly, but you need to know what to do. That's the point. For first-time user, I always suggest, okay, go with the script. So save everything on audio files and then run the system from there. And something that I usually do, I play loud music on the background. So it's kind of, the hope is that more robust to noise. I do it in a kind of like noisy environment.
Were the users native speakers of different languages, and did you notice any difference?
No, not that much. No, but especially because you don't use any word. Actually, yesterday I was mainly use vowels. Yesterday I was forced to use vowels because I was also triggering notes. So I need voiced sound, because voice sound are sound that you can maintain over time. If I use fricative sound, or like, let's say, consonants, I can't keep them over time. So the note triggering will be too short. And then there is some other things that needs my voice to stay louder than a certain threshold for about minimum like 50, 60 milliseconds. So I was kind of like forced to use vowels or voice sounds in general. But there's no limitation to. I was thinking that people that are good in beatboxing, they can generate a rich sound library from their voice. So they may be the best example the best user to train something like this.
Have you tried that? Have you met a real virtuoso beatboxer?
No, I don't know any. That's the point. And all the 10 users, they were not singers or people that perform with voice, not at all. They were mostly like, let's say, musicians or electronic musicians. So people that usually they don't even think about using their voice in performances.
Dan Stowell is a good technical user who can do beatboxing, and maybe he's a good candidate to test that theory on, because he has the skills to set up your system probably and understand your instructions to him. You ought to contact him.
He did an experiment with his mapping technique applied to beatboxers.
Yeah, I read about that.
I have a question too. So, when you were laying down the percussion tracks, was that then a matter of choosing between different percussion sounds?
No.
Or was it one synthesizer and you parameterized one percussive synthesizer differently?
No, the percussion was just like 4 different samples that I decided before. I have my buttons, and the 8 buttons of the top were for 8 different synthesizers. The 8 on the right side were 4 different effects. I have like 2 filters, 1 delay plus reverb, and 1 tape delay, and then there were 4 drums. The drums, I was just like triggering the sound.
Okay.
There was nothing going on them. I just want the drums to have like some drums in the track, but actually, I try to apply this technique to drums, but it's not that it doesn't really work well. But when you want to change drum parameters, there's nothing really much to change. If you start to change too much, it's not a drum anymore. So it was kind of like challenging to.
Like the decay rate.
Yeah. I tried it, for instance, also with like how's it called? something that sounds like the 303, so just changing the decay and the field. But those examples were just like 2 parameters of 3 parameters. And instead I was aiming to find more complex soundscapes. So most of the instruments I was using yesterday was like 5-6 parameters. So you can navigate across a richer space.
I guess here you're running into a catch of real time. You want to trigger the drum right away, but then you want to analyze the decay parameters in one frame, which is maybe impossible. So then you need to trigger it. You don't know the parameter yet. You need to analyze your voice a little bit later, but the sound has already been played.
Yeah.
When you have the pure real time.
Yeah. In fact, yeah.
If you allow yourself a little bit of relaxed real time, as we like to call it, then you could at least lay down the track, but it will be looped anyway, and so you could allow to change or parameterize the sound for the next iteration of the loop.
Yeah, that one is
First
possible.
time it will be the default, and then you could have the.
But something that I did, I mean, not in any performance, is like playing. I mean, I'm much more precise in playing drums with my hands on pad. I mean, I can strike the exact time, and then I was changing the parameters like decay and whatever with my voice, and there I don't have to wait for anything.
Sure.
So that one was the original idea of how to use this system, because it was, I mean, with voice, you know, on set detection, I need to take at least 20 milliseconds, and that one will give me already at least 25 milliseconds latency between my onset and the time I hear it from the speakers, and that's too much for any decent instrument. So that one was a kind of like a setup only for the performance, but for the real use, I think that the setup should be different.
I think we can continue more questions.
And the barbecue.
We move on to the next event. Well, thank you very much, Stefano.
Thank you.
And of course, thanks to all the speakers of today. And now it's time for a bit of fun. So